Goal. Hi and welcome, my friends, to the show that never ends. And here we are yet again. It's Sunday for us, and probably Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or you've left it way too late and it's Sunday for you. Well, Kieran, how have you been this week? All right?
Oh, fantastic, mate. I'm glad you asked.
Have you seen anybody really great? Any, people been there that you really love? Enjoy their company?
People really enjoyed my company this week.
Yeah.
We can say that.
Yeah. Parents have been down, have they? Been spending all their money on you?
Well, they bought me a nice £100 coat. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't know that. No.
But I went out and used it today and I didn't get wet. So
excellent.
That was
so
fantastic.
You've tried it out. Well, I shall have a quick. That was all my paperwork. I shall have a quick look at my bank balance. And we'll see whether we could have afforded that £100 coat. Just a minute. I'll just pick up all my paperwork.
Shall I do some small talk in between? It was a very nice coat. I have to give it to them.
Good. I'm pleased about that. Well, I did look at some questions earlier for you, and I've got to talk. But yeah, question time first. Okay, I thought we can't. I looked at some, and I thought I'm not asking them too simple. I can always judge how simple they are as to whether I can answer them or not. I work on the theory, if I can answer them, there's no point in asking. So, here we go. The Champions League for Liverpool. Okay. 2004, 2005.
Oh.
All right. So little Kieran here hadn't even started school.
No.
He was.
I hadn't even liked football at this point.
No, he was 3 or 4. Okay, Here we go then. Just how much did you know about Liverpool? How much were you staying up too late when you were 3 and 4? Who did Liverpool finish second? Just a minute. I haven't given any time for this. Okay, so who did Liverpool finish second to in the group stage? A nice, easy question for a 3-year-old. I feel I can give you the 3 choices in this.
Can
because I do realise you a bit,
Well, obviously, I'll try.
3 choices.
I think before all the questions, I'll try and answer it off the top of my head, but I actually can't quite remember.
Okay, so this one was Deportivo, Olympiacos, or Monaco.
See, none of them 3 would even get in the Champions League these days, would they?
No.
I'm going to say Monaco.
You're going to say Monaco?
I feel like that might be wrong.
No, you're right.
Am I
Monaco
right?
actually won the group. Liverpool came second in the group on goal difference, just in front of Olympiacos, mainly thanks to a late Steven Gerrard goal in the 3-1 home victory. There you go. All that great extra information that you were really desperate for.
Oh, I was, yeah.
Who did Liverpool beat 6-2 on aggregate in the round of 16? Was it...
I do know this one, so...
Go on then.
Bayer Leverkusen.
Yes, you are correct. Well, you're doing all right so far. So, who did Liverpool beat 2-1 on aggregate in the quarterfinals?
Juventus.
You haven't got it on your phone there, have you?
I have not. No.
No, just checking. So the way you look down, I think, Kieran.
No.
What did you say? Sorry, Juventus. Yes, that's correct. So that's 3 out of 3. Who did Liverpool beat 1-0 on aggregate in the semis?
I feel like we've had this style of questions before. We had this about the 2019 Champions League.
We did. It's the same question.
It's the same,
but quite a long time ago.
Well, this one is Chelsea.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. Yes.
You have to remember that you did buy me a DVD at some point that went through all of Liverpool's 2005 Champions League campaign. So,
Kieran,
yeah,
I've got DVDs and...
don't say remember them. No, you don't.
I can watch a film last week. I haven't got a clue what happened.
What happens to James Bond at the end of the film?
Who? Okay. I can't do that.
No.
Okay, where was the final played? I could answer that one without looking, I think.
Well, I'm glad they asked that question instead of who did they play.
I think it's Istanbul, isn't it?
Yes, it is, Daz. Well done.
I got one right. There we go. Istanbul, it was. Okay, so now we come to find the next book. There we go. Next book. Which club did Arsenal sign Fabregas from?
I assume it's Barcelona.
That's correct. Mahrez was signed by Leicester from a team in France. Who?
That's a toughie. I can tell you it was for £400,000.
It doesn't say that. See, I could have said that.
Doesn't help that though, does it?
It doesn't really, no.
I'm going to say, I don't know how to say it, but Nantes, so Nantes.
Don't matter if you can spell it all you like, mate, but that isn't how it's spelled here. It's spelled L-E, then the second word is Havre.
They have air.
Yeah.
You
got one wrong.
Yeah, but I don't know that.
How many English Premier League clubs did David Genola play for?
This is a bit before my time, in all fairness. Spurs, Newcastle. I'm going to say there was probably one more, so 3.
No, it was 4. The snag is it doesn't say which 4, so that's it'd be helpful if it gave the answers for Manchester City signed that's 2 wrong. Manchester City signed a player from Hamburg that went on to captain the team and make over 250 appearances for the club. Who was it?
Company?
It was. And last but not least, Mark Viduka is Leeds United's all-time leading goal scorer in the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
Which team did Leeds United sign him from?
Give me a chance.
That's a toughie as well.
Is it foreign?
Well, depends what you mean by foreign, really.
Does that mean Scotland?
Well, there's there's your clue.
Celtic.
It was Celtic. I'll let you have that one because that was a horrible question.
I wouldn't have got that one otherwise. I wouldn't have.
No, well, we'll let you have the 8. So, I don't know. Do we play sad music or happy music?
Mediocre music.
Mediocre music. I don't have any mediocre music. You'll have to have this one.
What about all the discs you've got up?
Like a bird
the top
on
of
a tree.
Yes, I've got to talk about them. Okay.
I'm just sitting here.
Okay, Kieran got out at 8 out of 10. How did you get?
Comment below.
It's clear to see.
Okay, right. There was that exciting piece of time spent. And now we move on. And we move on to what happened this week back in history. Well, I couldn't miss this one out. But on October the 26th, because we didn't do this last week, so I felt I was allowed to go back a little bit. October the 26th in 1863. Okay. It's seen as the starting date of organised football, when at a meeting at the Freemasons Tavern in London's Great Queen Street, the Football Association was formed. It has been English football's governing body ever since. I say governing, I wouldn't put it quite like that. Body ever since, and was the first such organisation in the world. That's why we sing Football's Coming Home, although it never actually does. Football on this day, on the 2nd of November in 2011, Manchester City manager Robert Mancini learnt a painful lesson.
You've pronounced that very wrong, but I'll let you have it. It's Roberto Mancini.
Mancini, all right.
Not Robert
There's not an
Mancini.
H in it. There's not an H in it.
So? He's Italian.
In a game against Villarreal in Spain, he basically got too excited in the dugout that he wasn't familiar with. And in a tense moment, he jumped up to discover the problem. It had a low roof. He spent the rest of the match with an ice pack on his head. Nice. He's probably got dementia now. But I shouldn't have said that, should I? Football on this day, on the 4th of November in 1933. Well, actually, this is probably pretty appropriate to the Welsh team now as well. And that is, well, if you were Welsh and knew how to kick a football, you may have been in contention for an appearance for Wales when they played Northern Ireland. I bet it's the same now. Their team selection problems were so bad that FA of Wales secretary had to ring round clubs asking for recommendations for the Welsh side. Alf Day of Tottenham made his debut for Wales that day based on such a recommendation. His football up till then having been in non-league and the Spurs reserves. That was the only appearance he made. There were 4 other Welshmen to earn their international debut that day, the others being one who played for Clapton, one Swansea player, a Leicester player, and another Spurs. There was one really experienced Welsh international on that day. It was his 9th appearance, and they still managed to draw 1-1. And that was football on this day back in history.
I feel like at some point we should tell that story about your dad playing football against, was it the English national team?
Yes,
something?
It was. Yes.
I feel like we should tell that story because I only thought of that because of 1933. But
go ahead. I've done all the talking so far.
It's been a while since he said it, to be fair, so I don't know whether I'll get my facts completely straight. But I believe, as part of the army, he went in goal in a match against the England national team for them to practice.
Yeah, as a warm-up. Yeah.
And I imagine he'd never played football before. Oh, I've never heard him talk about playing football before.
Not at all interested.
And how many did he concede? Was it 20?
Something like that. Yeah.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
He didn't save any. He just spent the time taking the ball out the net.
But
so my dad played against the England international team.
Yeah.
I
always thought that's quite a cool story.
Yeah. He keeps coming out with them, you know. He does come up with a funny story the other day about being looked after by a robot doctor for a year, but we won't go into that story. That's for another time.
Nice. I don't think that's on this podcast.
I haven't told you that one, have I?
No.
Okay. A couple of other quickie things. Somebody asked about the Wycombe Wanderers, when am I going to do anything about the plus? Now, one thing we do about the plus is usually what I'm drinking. Now, I've got to say, here is a fine brew. You can't buy it though. That's the problem, because he's not gone into the sort of, let it out there man yet. This is by Adrian, a friend of mine. We went round his house to the weekend, went for a visit, and he brews his own. And normally, home brew you keep well away from, but this is actually really, really nice. And so his surname is Good, so we're going to call this a really good pint. Okay, a really good pint. Thank you very much, Adrian. It is lovely.
I'll exemplify how lovely it is by drinking it.
That is excellent. And the other plus, it started because, can I just say, this never started as Wycombe Wanderers Plus. It actually started as Prog Rock Plus. You might have guessed what sort of music I liked, Beethoven, that sort of thing. And nobody watched it. Nobody was at all interested. And then Wycombe did really well, and we did a quick chit chat on Wycombe Wanderers, and we got loads of people watching it. So that prog rock plus thing has sort of disappeared. And the idea of the prog rock plus was, while listening and discussing music, I was going to mention about Wycombe Wanderers occasionally, but it's ended up sort of just being called Wycombe Wanderers Plus. But if you're really interested, go and buy Mostly Autumn's new album, all right? The best album so far this year. And I'll give you, go and have a listen, Spotify, whatever you want to listen to it on. Mostly Autumn, okay? That's the name of the group. Go and have a listen. There's my recommendation for this week. And I'll give you another recommendation on something a bit different next week. That is Mostly Autumn, just pure progressive rock music, all right? But I'll give you a few little odd ones in the future. Okay. And now to Wycombe Wanderers. And somebody also wrote in about a comment we made about when we score all our goals, and we said most of them seem to be at the end of the match. Well, I have looked it all up, and I have all the statistics of when Wycombe score all of their goals and every other team in the Football League. And I will give you a couple of little bits and pieces on that in a moment. Did you see the highlights?
Yes. They were very interesting.
3-3. What did you make of what you've read about and what you've seen about and what you thought about? First of all, got to mention the lineup.
Yeah, it was a bit of a strange one, wasn't it? More of a 4-2-2-2. Akinfenwa and Vokes up front. As much as we did draw, it worked for an hour. We went 3-1 up, didn't we?
We did.
I mean, 3 goals we don't normally score either.
No.
So maybe what it does suggest is that in an attacking sense, it's a good formation. In a defensive one, maybe not so much. But then in saying that, their goals were quite good. Like, as much as you could have done something about them, like the third one, I think, was a really pacey guy up against Jacobson, and we know that normally doesn't end well. But the problem is that in a back five, that situation never occurs because Jacobson would never be put one-on-one up against that bloke. There wouldn't be any space for that bloke to run through.
That's right.
Therefore, it wouldn't have happened.
That's right.
Where
so he'd made the space to score the goals. Tables turned, scored the goals, but it needed to be stopped as well.
Yeah, I don't know whether I don't know who was on the bench for us. I don't know whether we had another. Well, Abita was on the bench, wasn't he? So he could have gone to left wing back and Jacobson into the middle. So maybe all it tells is it just tells Ainsworth that once you go 3-1 up, then you resort to the back five. Because I mean, the 2-goal cushion at that point is more than likely enough against the Fleetwood team as well, who are near the bottom.
Absolutely. I thought what was interesting was, firstly, that he changed the team and was happy to do so. And he's not just putting the same team out there week in, week out. He knows what he's doing, doesn't he? Even though
he's got reasoning behind everything, doesn't he?
He's thinking his way through this, isn't he? He's got a team to be able to do it with, though, hasn't he?
I mean, in saying that, the one player again who's come to mind, I know I said it a few weeks ago, but if you're playing a 4-2-2-2, you've got 2 attacking midfielders. Again, he hasn't picked Mehmeti.
Why?
There has to be something like within the camp that maybe Mehmeti's not trying hard enough or that sort of thing, or it's his defensive work and his kind of shape within the team. Because obviously we got Mehmeti from the conference, didn't we? And so obviously there has to be a reason why he was released from there and we ended up getting him on a free. Maybe we're finding that out now. But it's such a shame because is he not one of those players that you can kind of make up for in other areas? Because, I mean, at times he was tearing championship teams a new one and he was doing really well. So it's just a bit of a shame that he's not getting any chances in the team at the moment.
He's not, is he? Yeah. You do wonder why, don't you? You have to say you wonder why.
It's a thing with Wycombe, isn't it? There's a few situations will occur either with an injury or with a player just not playing at all. And Wycombe or Ainsworth just don't let the fans know. Not that they have to in every given situation, but it just be kind of reassuring to know that there's kind of a direction with a certain few things. And I think Mehmeti would be one of them because I think people would have expected us to go from the Championship to League One and Mehmeti just to kind of rip it up. Well, that's what I expected anyway. I know other people did as well. So it's just a shame.
Yeah, it is. It is a shame because, I mean, everybody was talking about him moving on. We'd be lucky to keep hold of him for 5 minutes. And now he's not, Can't
even get in our team.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not to say that, our performances haven't been good or, our league position's not good. But it's just one of those things on the side where you're like, why is that happening? It's like Sancho at Man United on the bench for ever.
Yeah.
I just wonder why.
Yeah. Oh, that was, mad.
That's Man United being very stupid as opposed to anything else.
I was going to say, not the same.
No, but still.
Okay. Regarding League One, we'll come to all the goals in a moment, as in when they're scored and the statistics and everything, which I think are really quite fascinating, but we know other people don't. Let's take a look on how all the other teams got on then. Well, sitting nicely at the top there, Plymouth, they beat Ipswich 2-1. Now, Wycombe play Ipswich on Tuesday. I work on Tuesday. I missed the game. In fact, I think I missed Tuesday. Then Saturday is an FA Cup game.
Is it already?
And then the following Tuesday is another home game that I'm at work for. And then the Saturday is against Portsmouth at home, which won't be played because it's an international.
Probably.
So I can't think when I'm going next because the following Saturday be an away game. So I mean, will I be going ever again? That's the question.
No, mate.
I know, it's shocking, isn't it? Not good. Right, so Plymouth sat there at the top, beat Ipswich 2-1. Good for Wycombe. Ipswich lost. Gets them out of that little spell of doing all right. But Ipswich, funnily enough, are letting a lot of goals in.
24.
They're scoring on average 2 a match, mind you, and they're conceding 1.6, if you're interested in that sort of thing. And Wycombe, on the other hand, are scoring something like 1.7. So we're going to get our 1.7 goals because that's how, and it's just a case of them defending a damn sight better than we did against Fleetwood. Is what it boils down to. Actually, we got to do better than we did against Fleetwood in letting that.
Without the game against Fleetwood, we have the second best defence in the league, but we've dropped down a little bit after that, unfortunately.
Yeah,
it would only have been Wigan who conceded less.
And then we come. I mean, just to mention, of course, that they're climbing, aren't they? Ipswich.
They are
11th.
Yeah.
They're 11th, and on their performance in the last 8 games, or whatever way you want to look at it, they're moving up.
They're the highest scorers in the league as well.
Yeah, they do let them in, but they are the highest scorers. The next team, Wigan. Well, they beat Burton, and Burton are 9th. They're average, and Wigan beat them 2-0. Wigan were at home, and they're doing okay. They don't draw Wigan; they either win or lose, which is where their points come from. The winning, not from draws. I think they've only drawn 1 game. They've scored a few as well, but funnily enough, not as much as Ipswich, way down there in 11th. Ipswich are knocking them in, so they did all right. Then, of course, we have Wycombe, where we dropped that point, which was a shame because we could have gone top of the league. Could have sat up there nicely, 1 point clear of everybody, instead of which, I mean, Plymouth have played 1 more game. And then the next one that we have to bring up is the Rotherham beating Sunderland 5-1. Now, without going into 2 ton of details, I believe we just kept saying Sunderland are up, aren't they? Sunderland are up, aren't they?
Yeah.
They don't lose, do they? Well, Sunderland's form at the moment isn't so great, is it?
No, but I feel like every team has a sort of a run of form where they're not doing too well.
5-1?
Yeah. But then we lost pretty poorly to Sunderland, didn't we? We were 3-0 down for a good 90% of the match. So I think it happens to all the teams at some point. That's not to say they'll get out of it, though, because, I mean, Portsmouth have been on their bad run for about 10 years, so they did win at the weekend.
They did. And, of course, the team that Sunderland lost to are the team now in 4th. So that's 4th and 5th, Rotherham and Sunderland. And then horribly coming in at number 6 is Oxford, who won yet again. And I believe their form has improved, and they're pretty consistent, actually. They're doing all right, which is a shame. And there's no other great surprise. Well, actually, there is one, and that was Charlton. who were doing really badly. They then, as we will have a look, I didn't mention it, did I? You see, I dropped all that paper, and so I dropped the bit telling us they sacked their manager, and so they won 4-0. Isn't that always the case? We look at how who sacks who and how many have gone. Well, there's 7 managers now gone this season. There were 3 since the last time we mentioned it. The one we all know about is Steve Bruce from Newcastle. Then we had Nigel Adkins from Charlton and Mick McCarthy from Cardiff. And the funny thing is, Steve Bruce is up for 2 jobs, Charlton and Cardiff. And I think you'll find McCarthy is up for Charlton and Ireland for the 3rd time. And Adkins is favourites for Cardiff. I mean, absolutely. I mean, just like a bloody roundabout.
You'll probably find that Nuno is added to that list as well pretty soon.
Yes.
That's being discussed tonight.
At the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Apparently.
Yes, being discussed at the moment. Do you want to know another little funny thing that happened at the weekend before we just sort of no, we'll finish this off, then I'll tell you. Remind me to say that's a funny thing. Okay. Other things in there was Sheffield Wednesday really are pretty average, aren't they? Drew 2-2 with Cheltenham. I mean, I don't know. 8th. They're coming in 8th. Sheffield Wednesday. I don't think they're going to be anybody's problem. Milton Keynes beating Crewe. That's no surprise. Crewe's sat nicely on the bottom. And Gillingham and Accrington 0-0. We played Gillingham at home a week Tuesday. Gillingham, and Accrington, who they're just mid-table stuff.
Sheffield Wednesday have drawn their last 4 games. So.
Yeah, and of course the other one we always mention, Portsmouth, who beat Bolton, but again they're both mid-table. I mean, Portsmouth 13th. I mean, you can't get any mid. Well, you can, just about one place down, can't you?
Up.
No, one place up. I mean, they're about as mid as they come, aren't they?
Yeah.
With winning 5, drawing 4, and losing 6. I mean, I don't think you can get more mid than that. Boring Portsmouth. Yeah, that's where I was on Saturday. I almost picked up my Wycombe shirt to put in the suitcase. I thought, I better not.
I actually get away with wearing it, to be fair, around Portsmouth.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I should have done then.
They're not die-hard fans, evidently.
It's a big place for very few.
True. I mean, you would have thought people would at least mention it, but then it's not like Portsmouth and Wycombe having a big rivalry. Particularly,
well, we've discussed rivalries before, and it's funny how Wycombe have rivalries against teams that don't know about it.
No, not really. We have a lot of rivalries with teams that we didn't even know we had rivalries with.
Yeah,
people just don't like us, I'm sure I'll get heckled at some point, though.
I wonder how Newcastle fans are taking it now, being the most hated football team in the Football League. They've never been as hated. They've only been laughed at.
I don't know whether they're hated yet. Once they sign someone for 100 million, then they'll get a bit of hate. But at the moment, everyone's kind of like, well, you could have a lot of money, but you get relegated as well, so it'll be funny.
That'll be good. That'll be funny because they could, of course.
Yeah,
they've got to find somebody to sign to save them. Okay, that thing I was going to mention now. Can I find it to read it to get it dead right? I will. I'm good at this.
What, hosting a podcast?
Yeah. The skill is pushing this thing along the top here and not doing that. See, that's the skill. Now, can I just say, can you think I was thinking about the Tottenham. I'll say this while I'm trying to do this. I was thinking about the Tottenham Manchester United game, and I was wondering before it happened, have you ever had a match where both managers were sacked? Because that was always a possibility with Manchester United Tottenham game. Had it finished 0-0, there was a good chance both managers could have been sacked. And I looked it up, and it's only ever happened once. I think Ollie's got away with it again, but I just thought this was an interesting game. Here we go. It was Sheffield Wednesday versus Middlesbrough, and the game finished with Middlesbrough winning 2-1. This was back in 2017 on Christmas Eve, and both managers got sacked. How nasty was that? I mean, what a Christmas present.
What did he get sacked for after winning?
Well, they'd obviously already made their mind up and just didn't get, and thought they'd save it for a Christmas present.
It's nice of them, isn't it?
Yeah. Here we go. Here's an interesting story I came across. I thought you'd like this. Leyton Orient and Hartlepool United had to play 4 minutes of first half stoppage time at the beginning of the second half because of a miscommunication between officials. The referee forgot. So,
surely you just leave it.
So he blew his whistle. Both teams then headed down the tunnel for the break. Upon their return to the field for the second half, it became apparent that Young had called for time too early. The sides were told they had to play the 4 added minutes, which should have been played in the first half, at the start of the second half. In a strange set of circumstances, the teams shot in the same direction for 4 minutes before swapping ends and commencing the second half.
Spin it off, lads.
Isn't that brilliant?
Yeah.
I think that is brilliant. It didn't make much difference, though, because Leyton Orient beat Hartlepool 5-0, so didn't have too much to do with the game. Didn't really need the 4 minutes, I'd say. But I think that's really funny. So they had to come on and carry on where they left off for 4 minutes, then change ends at half time, just like at lunchtime at school.
It's a bit silly, isn't it? I think you should just forget about it.
Okay. Now for our friend who asked about when teams score their goals, and do Wycombe in fact score more, which is what we thought, than themselves? Do we score all of our goals in the last 10 minutes of the game? Now it has only been split up into tenths, which means the 80th to 90th minute obviously means the 80th to the 95th. Okay, which is always, if you look at adding on the amount of minutes, is always going to up the number of goals because of the extra time. Do you get that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So the fairest way of looking at it was what it is in the first division overall. Okay. First 10 minutes, 9% of goals are scored. There were 551 goals scored so far in Division 1. There you go. How's that for accuracy? Okay, 9% in the first 10 minutes. 11% are scored from 11 to 20 minutes. 11 from 21 to 30. 7% from 30 to 40. 11% from 41 to 50, 11% from 51 to 60, 10% from 61 to 70, 13% from 71 to 80, and 16% from 81 to 90. So, in fact, it's not a ton more than other parts. So on our, it's roughly 11 to 13% is the rest of the game. And if you're looking at it being not just 10 minutes, but more like 14, it works out reasonably even. There's a frazzle more, but no big deal. And that came as a bit of a surprise to me. And then I looked at individual teams. So I looked at Plymouth, okay, because they're top of the table. They actually, this is where the difference happens. In certain teams score more at certain times of the game. And there's some obvious differences. For instance, Plymouth score 21% of theirs between the 41st and 50th minute, which is massive. So at the end of the first half, beginning at the second, they stick the ball in the net 21% of the time. That's there. That's good. That's danger. You know, be careful, Plymouth at that time. And they score less from the 81st minute. They score 18%, which of course is still above average because they're top of the table.
It's still a big chunk of their
Wigan
goals,
now Wigan score more in that last 10 minutes than any other team. They're second in the table. They score 30% in the last 10 minutes. That's going some, isn't it?
So it's 1 in 3 of their goals are in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, and the rest of their goals are fairly evened out the rest of the game. So they obviously turn it up for 10 minutes at the end. They've obviously, and I think if you look at some of this, you'll see, for instance, Rotherham, on the other hand, only score 7% of their goals in that last 10 minutes. So you've got one scoring 30% of their goals and another team in fourth scoring only 7%. So, I mean, that shows you clearly, surely, a different style of football. I mean, one's already done it and are holding on for their results, and they're fourth in the league, so they're obviously winning.
Yeah.
And then they're good at defending and holding on to a lead. So obviously you do not want to go behind to Rotherham.
I mean, commonly that's what we've done at home, but then we've had a few recently where we seem to have scored in the last few minutes.
Whereas Wycombe score 20% of their goals in the first 10 minutes, and we score 16% of our goals in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So we're average, actually, where me and you said, oh, you know, Wycombe, we seem to score all our goals. We are average to the rest of the league.
Then I think we said that in regards to like last minute winners within the last 10 years as opposed to just this season. Like we can obviously recall a few of the ones this season, but it has been somewhat exponential.
I mean, if you were to actually look at when teams let them in as well, let the goals in as well, I know that sounds like it's going to be the complete, just that way round. It's going to just be the sort of roughly the same sort of thing. Again, that isn't, because when you start looking at the teams at the bottom and when they let the goals in, compared with the teams at the top of when they let the goals in, it's completely. There are patterns for teams, but there aren't patterns for top and bottom teams. That's what I'm getting to. So there you go. So Wycombe are pretty average, actually, for goals going in in the last 10 minutes.
I suppose it's just a fan's point of view, isn't it?
Well, you
But
remember
we
those
also,
as exciting games, but Wigan have good reason to remember them. 30% of them. I mean, you wouldn't leave a Wigan game early, would you?
No, I'm sure they do.
You'd miss 30% of their goals.
Yeah. I'm sure they do go home early, though. Everyone does.
I mean, that's just loopy. That's loopy. Whereas you see Ipswich, on the other hand, all their goals are really consistent in that it's roughly the same all the way through the game. They don't have a best bit of the game or a not best bit of the game, which Wycombe's is obvious with that 20% in the first 10 minutes.
I mean, what's better? Having it even or having a period in which you're more threatening?
Well, I guess.
I guess it being
what are you
even.
trying to do? What are you trying to do? Hang on for the first half and hopefully snatch one in the second? Isn't that what the bottom teams are going to do?
Yeah. Or the bottom team's going to try and get into a quick 2-0 lead and then hang on for the last 10. So I suppose the teams in the bottom will not have that many goals in the last 10 unless they're chasing the game, which would even it out again, I suppose. I suppose you would want it even as opposed to having a period in which you dominate. You want to be as threatening throughout the whole game as much as you can, as long as you are threatening. If you're not threatening at all, then it's bad.
You see, the other one I thought was quite interesting, the other little bit when I was looking at when goals are scored and all that sort of stuff. Do you know 1.53 goals are scored for the home team and 1.23 goals are scored for the away? Not a big difference, is it?
No.
Away teams aren't that far behind.
But they're behind enough to make an advantage for the home team, aren't they? It's a slight advantage. But then, as we've said before, teams do have a certain advantage at their home ground compared to others. Like, I imagine the ones in which they have massive stadiums with not a lot of people in, maybe like a Wigan. I don't know what their attendance is, but I can't imagine it's filling their whole stadium. Like, that must have less of an effect than, say, a smaller team like Accrington who can fill out their stadium every week. Near enough.
The other one was, and it'd be the last bit because I know some people find it trash, was the first half. 44% of goals are scored in the first half. That was higher than I was expecting.
Yeah.
So it's 44 to 56% in the second half.
I suppose there's pros and cons to both halves in which half is scoring. Like, first half takes a while for players to get going and get into the game. Second half, you're going to have teams who are fatigued and then make mistakes. I mean, yeah, there's pros and cons to both.
Yeah. So anyway, there you go. So what we're saying is, also, last thing is, out of 182 matches, 45% have been clean sheets by teams.
That's a lot, isn't it? Makes it sound like a boring league.
Well, they're your 2-0s, aren't they?
Yeah.
One team has managed to keep a clean sheet every 81 games out of 182 matches. So 81 times out of 182 games, one team has kept a clean sheet.
I suppose isn't the most common result 0-0? So I suppose that kind of gives that a bit of proof.
Anyway, there you go. So we've answered those questions, and now we come on to not that one. One daft question and a couple of comments, and then the last bit. At what time in a game can you say this has a 0-0 written all over it? Go along to a game, you stand there and you say this has got 0-0 written all over it. At what time can you say that?
Before the match.
Before the match?
Yeah.
Can you say it 10 minutes into a game?
Yeah.
Can you say it half an hour into a game?
You can say at any point. Unless it's like with 10 minutes to go, in which it is 0-0, then you can't say it then.
Right. So 20 minutes before the end?
I mean, yeah, if you want to.
Okay.
But I don't know why you would.
So we got it down to the last 20 minutes you can, but not the last 10 minutes.
No.
Last 15?
No.
Okay.
It's not a very intelligent comment if you're saying, oh, this got 0-0 written all over it. It's been 0-0 for 75 minutes. It may well end 0-0. Whereas if you say it at the beginning of the match and it does actually end 0-0, then you sound intelligent.
Right. So with 20 minutes to go, Kieran says you're allowed to say...
Not even 20. You can say after 60, but not 70.
Okay. With 30 minutes to go, we're allowed to say this has got 0-0 written all over it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know. And the other thing is, did you notice that the quarter-final of the League Cup, did you see where the draw was?
Soccer AM.
Soccer AM on a Saturday morning. Isn't that saying it's finished?
Well, a bit. I mean, no one really cared anyway, did they?
I mean, Saturday morning on Soccer AM, they did the draw. I mean, it's bad enough with the FA Cup draw being on the bloody One show.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, that's shocking. I mean, what about the World Cup? Could do it on Thomas the Tank Engine.
I don't know what they're trying to get out of the draw as such. Because are they trying to get people to watch it? The draw. I don't know whether people actually care. Like. Yeah, I mean, I suppose you can have a little ceremony kind of thing where you can see teams getting drawn out of the hat if you want to watch it. But at the end of the day, all people care about is who you're going to play in the next rounds.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make.
So, I mean, is there any particular TV programs that we think you could do the League Cup draw on? What about Naked Attraction?
Yeah. What they have like. Oh, this sounds vile.
Okay, keep that one in your head, Kieran. Keep that one in your head, Kieran. Yes, keep that one in your head, Kieran. Yeah,
it would be funny.
We'll leave that up to people to come up with their own imagination. Yeah, and it just seems. When I found out that was on Soccer AM, I thought, well. Why not just stick it on the kiddies show after schools, CBBS or whatever they call it. And that's sort of,
on Blue Peter.
Yeah.
Do it in my house,
Yeah, I just thought, the Teletubbies do the draw, Okay. And last but not least was I have the 20 recommended players for the, you say it, not me, Ballon d'Or.
The Ballon d'Or.
Yeah. Hey, that wasn't bad. Okay, let's go down the top 20 and see what you think. Okay, Martinez from Inter Milan.
No. He's one of those that makes up the numbers.
Well, he scored 23 goals 7 assists. He won the Copa America and Serie A.
Serie A.
After his fast start to the season, though, he's done a cane. So he isn't going to get it.
Oh no.
No, not.
He won the league with Inter Milan, which is all right, but that is about it.
Okay, Neymar, 15 goals, 16 assists, won the Coupe de France and Trophy de Champions.
Mate, he didn't even win the league this year. He's not getting it, and he doesn't even play that many matches during the season.
No. He was supposed to bring in old Messi along, was supposed to sort of light his lamp, wasn't it? But it hasn't seemed to have done so.
Not really. I mean, PSG only really need Messi for the Champions League, don't they?
Do you know, he's only scored 1 goal this season.
I think he scored 3 now.
Oh, right. So
he hasn't scored in the league yet.
Right.
He was subbed after 45 minutes on Friday.
Was he?
Yeah. I don't know what Pochettino... I don't know whether he's just trying to prove a point. Just like, I can sub anyone.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Harry Kane. he's on the list of favourites. I find that unbelievable.
Why was he on the list?
33 goals.
He scored a few. Like, if he'd continued...
6 assists.
If he'd continued his form in the Euros and this season, then maybe. But he hasn't done that, so he ain't getting it.
He ain't getting it.
No. To be honest, we can go through this list and I can say he ain't getting it.
Well, I was just going to say, we're going to whip through it. Barella for Inter Milan.
Barely know who he is, to be honest. He ain't getting it.
Foden, City.
He ain't getting it, but he's done well. He's had a good year.
Why won't he get it?
There's just been other better players, I think. He's
good, but not that good.
No, he's not the best player in the world.
Because that's what's going to... going all through these, you see. So Mason Mount.
Yeah, he's done well. But he's also had a few periods in which he hasn't really done a lot.
The world's best? I don't think so.
The problem with the world's best and the Ballon d'Or is that a lot of it, for some reason, is based off what you've won that year. Hence why Jorginho's name has been brought up so much.
I was just about to... Because, see, Mason Mount, last time, came in 15th.
That's not bad.
See? And, no. And then we got a guy called from Juventus. Oh, my.
Chiesa.
Who?
Chiesa?
Chiellini? Yeah.
The centre back. Yeah,
I wonder why he hadn't scored very many.
No, Juventus didn't win the league last season, did they? No, Inter Milan won it. But he's on there because Italy won the Euros.
He is, yes.
He's a good defender.
Yeah.
But he's not going to win the Ballon d'Or.
Diaz from City. He came in 13th last time. Do you know?
Yeah. Wow. That's better than expected. No, I don't know whether there's just me being biased towards not liking Man City players, but I do think he's overrated. I don't think he's that good. I'm sure I'd love him if he played for Liverpool, etc., etc. But like, he hasn't done that much to be compared with the world's best.
Right, here's an interesting one. He came in 18th last time.
Yeah.
Because, of course, there wasn't one last year.
No.
So it's been 2 years. They're hoping he might get himself a top 10 finish this time. Salah from Liverpool.
His form has unfortunately come too late. You could argue throughout the last 7 or 8 games he has been the best player in the world. But obviously last season he wasn't performing at his best. The team weren't performing at their best. At the end of the day, he hasn't won anything this year, and that does count for a lot in the Ballon d'Or. So in next year, there's potential, but that's depending on whether he continues this form, which he couldn't do against Brighton. So we shall see. It's probably asking a lot of him, to be fair, to score in 11 games in a row, but still.
There is one. Donnarumma, Paris Saint-Germain goalkeeper. Yeah. He actually can't hold his place in their team.
No, because they got Navas.
Yeah.
No.
And yet he got player of the tournament in the Euro 2020s.
Yeah. No one was quite sure how he managed that. He was obviously, I mean, he saved those penalties in the penalty shootout, didn't he? But I mean, he was just a solid part of the Italy team throughout the rest of it. To say he was player of the tournament was a bit like, okay. Surprised they didn't give it to Kane. But yeah, I mean, they should have.
Yeah, they should have given it to Kane because he needs to win something in his career.
Yeah, he does. He really does.
Even if it was to player of the. Oh, he got golden boot once.
Yeah, he got it in the World Cup, didn't he?
Yeah.
I would feel sorry for Kane if he went throughout the whole of his career and won nothing. Like, considering, like at times he has been extremely good. He has scored like 30 odd goals in a Premier League season, and if he didn't win anything, that would just be a bit sad. Like Gerrard didn't. Gerrard would have. Oh yeah, but still. Gerrard didn't win the Premier League, and that's very sad. But to not even win like the League Cup or something.
What about De Bruyne? He's 10th favourite, and
is he?
He came in 10th last time.
I don't think
he's been boring, hasn't he?
He hasn't set the Premier League alight as he has done in previous seasons, has he? Providing these incredible assists.
He's been dictating boring, hasn't he?
He's kind of gone into Foden's shadow a little bit, hasn't he?
Mm.
Like all the talk at the moment is about Foden, whereas De Bruyne hasn't really had that. But in all fairness to De Bruyne, maybe that's what not having a striker does to you. He hasn't had anyone who can just whip the ball into.
And they will argue every time Manchester City play and win, they don't need one.
No. But then
we'll get to that in a minute.
I was going to say, yeah.
We'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so none of these are going to win it. Ronaldo, last time he came in 9th.
Yeah, which is low.
He scored 39 goals this year. Not bad, eh?
He has to be up there. He should have been higher last time. I know he is towards the end of his career and he is 36. However, his numbers are as good as anyone who
39 goals, 4 assists.
Yeah.
I mean,
those 4 assists are actually interesting.
Can I just say, we don't criticise Ronaldo on this. We criticise the manager and how he fits into a team, and that's not the same thing. Any person that can score that amount of goals in a year
still
has a skill in scoring goals.
Yeah.
And quite often that's what you're after. If he was in Tottenham's team, they would be doing better than they are.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. He'd be doing better than Kane. I think Ronaldo has to be top 5 throughout the last year, just based on kind of those numbers
You see
alone.
his goal yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, how many strikers in the league can do that?
He just made it look. I mean, they hardly commented really.
No.
Or they kept saying, "Oh, he hit it first time." I thought he hit it on a volley at an angle,
Whilst running backwards, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, how many times could people hit that straight? No. That bloke has real talent. I mean, he is one of the best. Haaland comes in there. Last time he was 8th.
I reckon he's got to be up there as well.
43 goals, 13 assists. Admittedly, it is in Germany.
Yeah.
But does it count?
And this is where we'll come on to Lewandowski and whether he deserves it as much. But with Haaland is ridiculous, some of the stuff he does.
The trouble is, he's out, isn't he?
He is injured at the moment.
They reckon we won't see him again,
until
possibly
January.
till 2022.
No. So, yeah. That obviously works against him because he's missed quite a few games. Also works against him that he does play in Germany and plays for Dortmund, who never go particularly far in the Champions League and obviously can't really get close to Bayern. But I think he's got to be top 8 probably again.
Lukaku came in 7th last time.
No.
How many has he scored so far for Chelsea?
Like 3.
3. Out of how many games?
And they should have known that based off when he's been in the Premier League before.
Chelsea doing fine without him. They're scoring goals without him.
Reece James is better finishing than Lukaku. His goals yesterday were ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think he is petering out. I think Mr. Lukaku, Superman, is what everybody was expecting, is, Crystal Palace need a striker at all. They usually take the big guys that turn out crap.
Benteke's all right.
Benteke, that's the one.
I think Chelsea have made an error in spending 100 mil on Lukaku when Haaland's going to be available. I feel like Chelsea is the sort of place Haaland would go to. And I don't know whether Chelsea will still be able to afford him, but they probably can. But
in the same breath, so have United.
Yeah.
They don't need another one.
No.
And now Chelsea, no. I mean, there's only really one team, isn't there?
I mean, there's no competition for where else you can go, is there?
No. So Haaland at City.
Woo.
Right, talking of which, Mbappe. 37 goals, 16 assists in 2021. He's won the UEFA Nations League, Coupe de France, and Trophy des Champions, whatever that is. He's doing all right at PSG with Messi as well, I can say. He seems to be doing his bit.
He has to be a top 8 as well, I reckon. I mean, based off those stats alone, but also there's often a lot of times where Neymar doesn't play for PSG and Mbappe has to kind of carry that team, even though it is in the weekend league. He still has to carry that team a bit. I remember he got a hat-trick against Barcelona in the Champions League last season. Like, the bloke is flipping good. I don't think he's quite Haaland's level, in my opinion, but yeah, top 8, I reckon.
Okay, we're coming into the 5th now. Top 5. Karim Benzema.
He's the one.
35 goals, 14 assists.
He's Real Madrid's talisman now, isn't he? Benzema. he's been the person on par with Salah this season in terms of number of goals and performances. So if you're going off this season alone, then yeah, he is right up there. Does he do enough to get the Ballon d'Or? Probably not, because I mean, another thing with the Ballon d'Or is that you kind of have to have a name as well to what it feels like. You have to have a bit of a name. You have to
say it's not the best footballer, is it? This isn't about the best footballer. No. It's about the best superstar, isn't it?
It's the best
superstar. This isn't. You know, this isn't. It's you've got to have tons of trophies and play for the best.
Well, this is why Jorginho's
the best.
Yeah.
I mean, no player, no matter how brilliant at Crystal Palace, is going to win this.
No. This is why, like, Foden gets nowhere near, for example, because he's not he doesn't have superstar status yet. But I mean, Benzema has to be up there because he has been extremely good. But I don't think he gets close to winning it.
Okay, coming in for fourth last time was Kante for Chelsea.
I think he has a big chance of winning it.
Do you think he has?
I think he has to, because Chelsea won the Champions League. For France, he was very impressive. At times for Chelsea, he's been very impressive.
Yeah, he won the UEFA Super Cup.
Yeah, won the Champions League. I imagine he must have won the Nations League as well.
I just feel like he hasn't really got going somehow. Has he been injured?
I think he might have been for a period of time, and then he hasn't really got back in the team.
Doesn't he?
He doesn't really.
Quite.
There's games in which he's very noticeable in what he does, and you can see, like in the Champions League final, he blocked a lot of what City did. Whereas this season, and in a lot of games, you don't really see that shine from him. You just kind of like, oh, he's there. He passes the ball sideways here, there, and everywhere. But he doesn't really. I don't know. Maybe this is where the kind of bias towards the attack has come in which if you score more goals, then you kind of get put on that pedestal, as opposed to what Kante might do doesn't get anywhere near the recognition. But then in saying that,
Chelsea, you said him earlier.
Isn't he second favourite?
Third.
It's because it's no, he's not that good at football. He's won the Champions League.
I don't know what he's doing in there.
No, he's won the Champions League and the Euros, but he's not exactly,
I mean, how can he be in there as third and Zaha isn't even in there at all? Or
he's no better than Jordan Henderson. Like,
no,
it's nothing like that in terms of his performances as well.
Yeah. Okay, we come to the two then. Here we go. Now, coming in at number two, I noticed they've actually changed him recently, and now he is favourite, and I think he will win it. What do I hope he'll win it? I don't know. It just seems only fair in some ways. You don't give it to be that. Robert Lewandowski. That's what I said. Yeah. 54 goals.
Yeah.
8 assists. He won the Bundesliga, Club World Cup, DFL Super Cup. I mean, blimey.
Yeah.
I mean, he's never going to win the World Cup. He's Polish.
No.
And isn't he always in there and never has had really much chance because of we come on to the last one, and that's Lionel Messi. And isn't it about time Messi and Ronaldo opt in their Ferrari and drove away and give somebody else a chance? Trouble is,
There's the things that go for Lewandowski is that he's obviously scored a shed load. He's won
54.
He's won everything he possibly can in Germany. His finishing is probably second to none inside the box. But then the things that work against him
His
is that
hairstyle.
he's not a particularly interesting person. But then
Doesn't help. Messi's got away with being a boring little sod as well, though.
Yeah, he has done actually. Yeah, but then he's exciting on the pitch, whereas Lewandowski has had. I can't remember the exact stat, but I think you'll find that about 50 of the goals that Lewandowski scored have been from inside the box. And so he doesn't score spectacular goals, but he's always in the right place at the right time to put it in. And by always, we mean always. Like, he's never not there. And yeah, he didn't get very far in the Champions League, I don't think. So there's a few things that work against him that will work in Messi's favour. But I think Lewandowski probably should win it.
And yeah, and then you've got Messi, who run out a bit now, has it?
Hasn't if he was playing as well as he had done for Barcelona as he is for PSG, then I think he would have a bigger chance. But the fact that he hasn't done well at all for PSG yet doesn't help his cause. For Barcelona, he was still insane. He completely carried them to second in the table, wherever it was.
Well,
considering how bad Barcelona are now, you can see the difference. It's like, well, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So who are we going to give it to then?
I think we have to give it to Lewandowski.
Yeah, we're going to vote for them.
Yeah. Not that we get a vote, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, if they ask,
yeah.
we'll
let them know.
We'll let them know. Okay. Let's just finish off. Today, as in Sunday, Leeds 2, Norwich 1.
They got away with it, Leeds.
Thank goodness for that, one says. Are Norwich ever going to win a game?
No.
Do you think they can get through the season without winning a game? Really?
No.
What about when they play Newcastle?
Well, this is it. Because Sheffield United, when they were very terrible in the Premier League, was it last season? I think it was last season. They beat Newcastle. Yes, that was the one team they beat was Newcastle. And so Norwich will find a random win at some point. They're still a decent championship team. Like, at some point you will beat a Premier League team. But yeah, I don't think they'll win many. Maximum their winning is 4. I'm going to say. They won't win any more than 4.
It. I just don't think they're going to beat Newcastle. I can't remember when they're playing them, but I can. But if it's after January, when Newcastle have pulled in about 4 decent players, I'm not saying superstars, but they will improve the squad. I don't think they will beat Newcastle either. They need to play them before then. West Ham, do you see they're beating Aston Villa 4-1?
A big result, yeah. West Ham and Aston Villa, you kind of put on the same kind of level, or I did before, but then seeing
Aston
that,
Villa are near the bottom and West Ham are near the top.
Well, Aston Villa, based off last season, were excellent, and their team is excellent. But I mean, West Ham, they've gone from strength to strength, haven't they? They look very, very good.
Where's that come from?
It is mad, isn't it? It's not like they've bought anyone to say, "Oh yeah, this is the direction we're going in. We're going all the way to the top." They haven't bought anyone specifically, but they've just been playing very well as a team.
It's strange. I mean, has it just clicked, or I mean, is this something that's going to be? Because I was listening to something on the right. Do you know they're fourth in the league? They've got the same amount of points as City. They're only 2 points behind Liverpool.
Yeah. They don't lose particularly to the teams in and around the bottom half of the table. They beat all of them and then just drop points against the really big teams.
I mean,
they are very good.
The difference between Liverpool and West Ham is 2 games Liverpool drew, they lost. Basically. Incredible. Brentford lost again to Burnley.
Badly as well.
Are they on their way down now? Or did they have their little highlight of the season at the beginning and it's sort of just petered out a bit?
I mean, it somewhat seems that way, doesn't it? I don't know if they've lost kind of the hype of being in the Premier League. I mean, Burnley seems to be one of those teams that they would have faced a fair few times last season in the Championship. A kind of stubborn defence and kind of not hoofball, but that sort of style in attack. You thought they'd play a decent amount last season, whereas they just completely caught them off the guard against Burnley. And they really didn't play very well.
I mean, but in all fairness to them, Brentford, they're doing all right. Brentford, I think. They're doing all right, but they're going to have to find the right teams to beat. And Burnley should have been one of them, shouldn't it? Really? I mean, they can beat Norwich.
I mean, that was Burnley's first win of the season. So, I mean, Burnley for every team has to be someone you look to beat. It literally is. The fact that Burnley stay in the league for this amount of time is ridiculous. Burnley is a team that you have to beat if you want to stay up, because they are always within the few bottom teams.
Leicester 0, Arsenal 2. I mean, Arsenal are up there now, aren't they? They're 6th.
They're on the same amount of points as Man United.
They are. And their form is a damn sight better as well. They've won half their games. They're moving themselves. I mean, they are only 3 points behind City.
Yeah.
And they did another good job, didn't they? Leicester
Leicester don't look what they have been in the past. I think because Rodgers has been there for a while now, hasn't he? And kind of their period in which they were so close to getting into the Champions League, they did it twice in a row. To go again and do it 3 times with near enough the same team.
West Ham need to do it when they've now got a chance. Pick up that TV money and do it now.
This is literally the biggest chance West Ham will have, because Arsenal
that money they get from Europe is massive.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the statistic I was telling you the other day? Something like if you win the League Cup, the amount of money you get through all the games and winning the League Cup is something like about 10% of one game in the Champions League in the little league thing as you're starting off. Yeah. It's nothing.
Yeah, I mean, this is up the year. I mean, below them they have a Manchester United team who seems to be in disarray. Arsenal, who are certainly not what they were. Spurs, who are just weird. And then you've got Leicester and Everton, who have kind of fallen off a little bit. So, to to be fair to them, West Ham do look the fourth best team in the league at the moment.
Well, yeah,
they're
not there through luck, are they?
No, they're there for a reason. It's not. I mean, Brighton, to say they're the seventh best team in the league, I think could be pushing it slightly. But West Ham, they do look extremely good, and on the same points as Man City, and probably deservedly so. I mean, they've scored the same amount of goals as City. It's just the amount they conceded a little bit more.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, does that suggest that maybe that is West Ham's slight downfall that will keep them fourth and not any higher? Is because they concede a few.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look, Chelsea have only let in 3, haven't they?
Yeah.
Liverpool let in 8.
Well, that was 3 against Brentford, 2 against Brighton,
but
a couple against City.
To be fair, Liverpool's goal difference is plus 21. West Ham's is plus 9. That is going to be the difference, maybe.
Yeah. A little bit more free-flowing in scoring.
Newcastle 0, Chelsea 3. Bog standard, yeah.
Yeah.
Just went and did their job, didn't they?
Yeah. I mean, it took them a while. They only scored their first after about 60. But then Newcastle evidently lost their heads and didn't do anything from there on. So, yeah, I mean, that's not a surprise, is it?
You say, well, I mean, we'll come to Liverpool, Brighton, but you say about Brighton, you see. But, I mean, actually looking at it, there's points per game from the last 5. So if you actually look at points per game, etc., you would actually realise that Brighton haven't won a game for ages.
No, they haven't won the last 5.
No, it's been draw, lose, draw. That's not exactly bombing it along, is it? I mean, that's so that's 4 points out of the last 15.
Maybe they're slightly falling off a little bit, but in saying that, they probably should have won yesterday.
Whereas West Ham's form is actually the best in the league, along with Chelsea's.
Yeah, 4 wins and a loss.
Yeah. Whereas Newcastle's and Norwich both the same, desperate. Word. Leeds have improved.
Just about.
So, Crystal Palace, Manchester City. It's not there, is it? It's not right.
No. Isn't that's twice at home now that they've dropped points against crappy teams. Let's say crappy, but they drew, was it 0-0 with Southampton, and they've lost 2-0 to Palace. It's difficult to tell with City from highlights because you just assume that City completely dominate the game. But in the moments in which it mattered, Palace took their opportunities, and Zaha, scored the first and caused the red card as well.
Well, in fact,
which it was a red card.
In fact, their home and away form is equal in that they've, out of the 5 home and 5 away, they've won 3 of each, drawn 1 of each, and lost 1 of each. So,
I mean, it's probably too early to say, but City do not look the same as what they were before.
No.
I think Chelsea are cemented favourites. I mean, that's easy to say, just going off how many each team has won, etc. But like Liverpool with more flipping injuries, maybe can do it if they can start turning those draws into wins. But Chelsea look pretty cemented at the moment.
I mean, they've got A few interesting games coming up, City. They've got United, then Everton, West Ham, then they've got the Aston Villa Watfords. But with United, Everton and West Ham, there's points to be dropped down there, isn't there?
Mm.
Crystal Palace, done all right, didn't they?
Yeah. I can't really tell. All that you can say about them is that their midfielder Gallagher looks very good. But I don't really know.
Next,
Just thought I'd mention we have been going for an hour and a half.
Have we?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, before we touch the Liverpool, got to touch the United Tottenham.
Tottenham are crap.
That was it, wasn't it?
Literally it. Yeah.
That literally was it.
Made it
Got
easy
nothing
for
to
United.
do with Man United. Why did Ole Gunnar Solskjaer finally work out that you can change a format of a team? Where did that turn up from? That came as a shock to me.
It's not a
He
consistent
seemed to
one.
have
They'll
got
be
a
able
clue
to.
about football. Do you think he read something somebody wrote on Twitter?
No, it's not. As much as it works and has worked in the past for him, it's not something he'll be able to maintain with the squad he's got, because it requires. He hasn't got any other wing backs for a start, and having Ronaldo and Cavani up front in all of those games at the ages of 36 and 34 isn't going to happen. And they are the only two strikers they have, apart from maybe Rashford and Martial, but I don't think they really fit as strikers in that system.
Do you know what struck me about having those two up front? They are the best two. They would be a perfect two for most teams.
Yeah.
The only trouble is the idea over the past 3 years was he's supposed to be creating a younger football team, not one that go round in wheelchairs.
Yeah.
What he's done is he's bought two old
Been there,
players,
done it.
rather than build a new football team.
Yeah.
And they'll be gone again in a year or two.
It's not a football team that will be able to continuously.
No, he's going to have to. You'd be looking at replacing them now, rather than buying them now.
Yeah, you have to build the team again, don't you?
So, and that's what struck me about it was, all well and fine, but I'm afraid that wasn't the point that they got you in to do. You were employed to build a new football team that was going to last a few years, not one. Liverpool-Brighton, and then we'll finish with this. Liverpool-Brighton, what happened? Are you happy with that scoreline or disappointed? Or can you clap Brighton on the back and say, good job? What? Did Liverpool do much wrong?
I mean, Klopp said he wasn't happy with the body language of a few in the second half, which I found interesting because it's not something you normally associate with Liverpool. But no, we didn't do enough at all, especially in the second half. First half, we were so dominant, and I mean, they were lucky to go into halftime 2-1 up, 2-1 down, because I mean, their goal was a fluky one, and they got very lucky with our third one being disallowed for handball. But then second half, they completely just ran all over us. Defence seemed very disconjugulated or something, whatever word I'm trying to say. Just seems very disorganised, and Brighton deserved their draw, maybe even a win.
Do you know, the strange thing is that the last 5 at home, they've only won 2. Liverpool.
Yeah. Drawn 3.
Yeah.
I mean, the 2 drawn previously were City and Chelsea, but I mean, you can't afford to drop any more points against the other teams because you get the impression that Chelsea are on that sort of run where they will beat everyone apart from City and Liverpool, in which they may lose or get a draw. So you need to beat Brighton at home. You really do.
What's interesting is the next few games they've got coming up. Now, they're away to West Ham on Saturday, and that is definitely going to be a game to watch.
It's going to be a toughie.
A couple of weeks later than that, they've then got Arsenal, and then Southampton and Everton and Wolves. So out of the 5, certainly the West Ham, out of the 5, West Ham, Arsenal and Everton. I'm glad they're playing West Ham. I'd like to see them play one of the top teams again. I'd like them to see. I'd be fascinated to see them play Manchester City again. It's a shame they played them so early on. I think both are vulnerable, and I think that game would be fascinating. Okay, Kieran, have you got anything else you want to say?
No.
And so with that, we'll say I've finished my drink. Thanks, Adrian. That was good. And with that, we'll say thanks a lot, everybody. Whether you managed to stay the distance, I'm only still just awake. So say goodbye, Kieran.
Bye.
And it's goodbye